Hey everyone, it's Unishek here, and today we're going to be doing our first ever Ask 343 segment. Today I'm joined by Quinn Del Hoyo from the Sandbox team, and we're going to be answering some of your community questions about our latest Halo Infinite blog. Quinn, how's it going?
Hey, John, it's great to be here, man. I'm excited to sit down with you and have a good chat and talk about all the Sandbox goodness that we revealed in that blog.
All right, well, let's not delay any further. Let's just jump straight into some of these questions. We were getting them on Twitter. This first one is going to be, will weapon tuning for multiplayer affect weapon tuning for campaign?
That's a fun one. Good to start off on that one. So we on the Sandbox team, we're working to get tools in place, and it's to allow us to be able to make more changes and tweaks to the system that doesn't necessarily affect the other side of the experience. So an example here, like campaign, if we're going to touch and tune a weapon, for example, we are in the process now to trying to make that very much possible where we don't adversely affect the other side of the game. So an example could be if we're going to touch the sidekick and make it really powerful for multiplayer, for example, because something happened and we need to do that, and there's the meta is changing that way. We're gonna make sure that that doesn't necessarily adversely affect the campaign, and now we're shredding through brutes and grunts and all that. So the goal is that no, we want to make it, if need be, where we could tune one side of the game and not affect the other side. But we are doing everything we can to try to keep everything cohesive in feel of how a weapon shoots, how it fires, how the equipment is deployed, how a vehicle drives. Those kind of things we want to keep cohesive. But the tuning that can shift the meta, we don't want to have meta shifts that affect one side or the other of the experience.
Awesome. Thank you for diving into that a little bit. I've got another awesome question, kind of talking about how you can use things and how it'll affect gameplay. This one is, will I be able to use a grappling hook to hijack a flying banshee?
Yeah, in short, yes. There's some skill involved if you're good enough. If you position yourself correctly and the banshee is close to you, you can absolutely use the grapple shot to skyjack the banshee. But it's not something that is just going to be given out for free. It's just going to be something that with a player's skill, and we want to reward that creativity. So yeah, you can do that.
That's awesome. Thanks for the response there. I know I've done a couple banshee skyjacks with the grapple shot. It's a ton of fun to pull off, but certainly not easy. Our next question is actually a follow-up from someone else about the grapple shot, and it is, can you use the grapple shot to pick up weapons off the floor in campaign and or multiplayer?
Yeah, absolutely. If you saw in the demo that the gameplay reveal, the campaign gameplay reveal from this past July, Master Chief was able to use the grapple shot to pull that fusion coil to himself, and then chuck it at the shade turret. Same rules applies. This is a sandbox game. We're trying to make sure all the systems intertwine and intermix with each other, so there's player creativity. So if you're accurate, you could definitely see a weapon on the ground and use the grapple shot to pull it to you instead of you going to the weapon.
Very cool. I've done it a few times in campaign, sometimes intentional, sometimes not intentional, but it is a lot of fun when you do it on purpose. I'm going to jump on over to the next question. I'm confused about the line, weapons on day one will assuredly be different after multiple updates and patches. Doesn't this mean the weapons included in the base game in the 1.0 version will be altered, or simply that new weapons will be added? And they're referencing a quote from our Halo Infinite blog.
So in short, the answer is yes to both. We are going to have weapons that are altered, the weapons that launched with the game originally. Those will be altered over time, and then we're definitely going to be introducing new weapons. Brand new weapons, never before seen weapons, classic weapons, legacy weapons, all those kind of things we'll be looking at and discussing and figuring out what the game needs at that time. But just I guess to clarify a little bit with altered weapons that go out day one, when we say alter, we're primarily going to be looking at things that are meta shifting and tuning knobs, but we're going to do everything we can. And I guess previous to the last answer and the other question is, we're going to keep weapons, the feel of the weapons the same, and the roles of the weapons. We're not going to take a weapon and change its role all up. We're not going to change the feel of the weapon. The BR-75 is going to play like the BR-75. It's going to have that 3-round burst. It's going to have that cadence. But we'll be looking at things, for example, the damage output, for example, or perhaps maybe the accuracy. There'll be some things that it will change over time, or maybe max ammo carried in it, or maybe the ammo that you pick up on the initial pickup. There's knobs at our disposal that we'll look at, but we're going to maintain the roles and the feel of the weapons. So when we say alter, those are the things we're going to try to stay away from. But that being said, never say never. Crazier things have happened, and this is a service game, so we'll have to see as we go. But anything that does change, we will communicate to you as the players, the what and the why, always.
Very cool. So both, yeah, we've got the tuning as well as a bunch of new stuff coming down. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The next question. So obviously we know that bullets are sort of the standard damage type, and plasma is the shield stripping one. What damage type does the Ravager have, and what does it specialize in?
The Ravager is a plasma weapon, and it's in the brute line of plasma where it's red plasma. So there's a little bit nuance from the classic blue plasma, where it burns a little bit hotter, it overheats quicker when you use it. So there's a little bit of nuances and tendencies that we wanted to build into even within plasma, whether it's brute or the classic Covenant style plasma. So that's what the damage type the Ravager is. And then something with it and kind of how its role in the sandbox. If we look back at the campaign reveal, it is it's a burst weapon that has AoE to it. And the reason we wanted to have burst in there is that players can choose how much do they want to spread that damage out over whipping the weapon across an area, or do they want to have it more concentrated? And if you want it concentrated, then you have to maintain that time on target to that specific area. So all that being said, there's still some surprises that we have in store, and even in particular to the Ravager, it plays a little bit differently, and we're very excited to show those surprises in the coming months as we reveal more about Halo Infinite.
Very cool. Yeah, I know what those surprises are, and I'm looking forward to show them off too. Our next question is going to be, I thought the wording for equipment is earned via combat or scavenging the play space for MP was interesting. Do you simply mean fighting someone in combat for an equipment pickup, or does this mean we can potentially start with equipment at the start of a game and charge up its use by earning kills?
Got it. Yeah, I could clarify that a little bit. Simply what we meant by that statement was, in multiplayer, you could expect to acquire equipment as if they're on the map, and you go to that location to find it, and sometimes that location is contested, and you have to win a battle to gain that equipment, and at other times you gain the equipment just by killing that enemy that had the equipment, and they drop their weapons and their equipment if they're carrying any, and then you could loot it and take it for yourself. That's what we meant by earned via combat, not with any kind of meters or building up anything like that. It's just simply put, equipment will be on the map in multiplayer, and you have to go and scavenge the battlefield and to acquire equipment.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that point there, Quinn. So next question here is going to be, from the gameplay trailer shown a few months ago, it looks like the Warthog lost its front left wheel when it ran over a suicide grunt. Is this a new feature for vehicles in the sandbox?
Very astute viewing. Yeah, the front left wheel was damaged by that grunt that had the plasma grenades out. That is something that we are have a new feature that we're not totally getting into, but just to tease a little bit, because it's exciting and it's really cool, is that we are putting more effort into a fully fledged damage response system to our vehicles, because we wanted to award our pilots and our drivers, our wheelmen, if you will, that when they drive the vehicles that we're going to be having in Halo Infinite, that there's more to it than just simply health. Like, I got damaged, and the more there's only a finite amount of health I have, and then the vehicle will go to a doom state and explode. So we're trying to get a more of, when a certain tire gets shot out, then the vehicle will drive differently. Or air vehicles, how they will handle based on where they receive damage from. So that also plays into, as an attacker trying to deal with vehicles, I now have more interesting choices of how I want to eliminate that vehicle or affect that enemy pilot or that enemy driver. I could shoot out wheels, I could shoot out different areas of the wings and things like that. That, again, I don't want to spoil all of it, but it's really cool and exciting, and something that we're going to continue to develop with not only new vehicles, but even existing vehicles. We're going to take that system and tune it and make it better over time as well.
You on the Sandbox team, you guys have been making some awesome things and some very cool little systems like that, right? Making sure the vehicles have a fun counterplay there. And our next question: weapons, equipment, and vehicles were clearly the star of the show in the blog post, but I was wondering what's currently planned for grenades. What are the goals for this part of Halo Infinite Sandbox?
Grenades are definitely going to be there. We showed some grenades prominently in the campaign reveal, and others not so prominently. But yeah, grenades are going to be there. They're going to fulfill largely the same role of what you'd expect in previous Halos. But we are going to have a little bit of wrinkles with the grenades. So like you saw, the spike grenade was thrown at Chief, and Chief also threw the spike grenade. And even in that, we're looking at having a little wrinkle there. So just to talk a little bit about that just for just a few seconds, because I think it's really cool and exciting, is that the spike grenade, it has blades. It's like this brute weapon, this explosive weapon that has blades on it that sticks into surfaces and enemies. And we looked at that, it was like, well, if it has blades, why can't we just make it deal more damage when it sticks to things? And that's what we did. So we actually, there's some fun moments where in the campaign where there's like grunts, which are weaker on the scale of health of enemies that you fight. You could stick them with a spike grenade, and it just has blades and the damage on it that they will die right out. And then it still has the fuse on it, so it'll explode and shrapnel will go everywhere. But that's just one of those moments where we wanted to really go all in on the character of not just vehicles and equipment and weapons, but even our grenades. We're trying to really differentiate the offering on everything in Sandbox.
That's awesome. I knew it was planned. I have yet to nail a grunt with one of those spike grenades, but I'm looking forward to it when I do. Our next question is going to be, you guys had mentioned the Bulldog is meant to fill the role of a fast-firing, low-power shotgun. Considering the team's emphasis on eliminating redundancies, doesn't this make room for the older, powerful shotgun to fit nicely into the new Sandbox as another option?
Absolutely. The Bulldog does fit that role. And something that we haven't, just to keep in mind, we haven't revealed all of the weapons in the Sandbox yet. And that powerful shotgun role is, we've already got a weapon that is new, never before seen or talked about, that is filling that role. And we'll talk about that and share it in the coming months as we get into that more. But just to clarify and to reemphasize what I said earlier in a previous question, is that we're always going to be looking at new, not just brand new weapons to bring in, but where do the legacy and classic weapons, where's it, when, where, and how do those get to come into the title? Because that, to me, this is something that we're really excited about, is that this is not just a Halo game that we're going to get out and then be done with and move on to the next Halo title, but we're always going to be looking at how do we keep updating this game. And that's exactly where new and legacy returning weapons can fit in as well.
Thanks for that answer. I know the classic shotgun is definitely a fan favorite weapon. So we were anticipating quite a few questions around the Bulldog there. And this next question actually is pretty similar, or at least along the same vein. It says, has the Magnum been reconsidered to be added into the sandbox? I like the new pistol and all, but I think having the original sidearm is a must, being such an iconic weapon.
We didn't want to do previously where the Magnum changed from Halo CE to Halo 2, and then it changed again from Halo 2 to Halo 3, and then so on and so on. Every new Halo game seems to change legacy weapons, and that's something that we don't want to do. If we're going to bring a legacy weapon back, we want it to be and play like that weapon that players remember and understand, without having weird design decisions on why this thing is changed, whatnot. We really want these things to be what they are. And so that's where, with the Magnum, we wanted to make sure that when we do it, that we do it right. And with our design goals of pistols being like pistols and not being hyper accurate from really far away, that's where the Sidekick is where that weapon is. It's that true sidearm that someone can use quickly and efficiently. And then our rifles play much more closer to rifles. So I guess that, I don't know. I mean, I could talk forever on this stuff, and that's why I like doing these kind of things, John, and talking about the sandbox. But I guess I don't, I'll just cut it short there, is that, yeah, we love the Magnum. It's special in our hearts. And when and if and how we bring it back, we want to make sure we do it right, and that the fans will recognize it as the Magnum, and we're not tweaking it or changing it from what it used to be.
All right, so the Sidekick pistol is very similar to the Gunfighter Magnum from Halo 5 then, kind of, right?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a pretty good way to look at it, for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's kind of at least how I view it when I go hands-on with it in our playtests and stuff. But gonna keep on moving because we've got a few more questions here. What past Halo game has your favorite sandbox?
Wow, we're gonna hit me with that, huh? We've been going this whole time talking about Halo Infinite, and now we're gonna bring out this favorite sandbox question. That's really tough. I think as I look back at it, I would have to say my favorite would be probably Halo CE, even though it's a very small sandbox. Like there's very few weapons in that, which makes it very easy to have really strong nuances and differences between the weapons. But I think that one would probably be my favorite. And I think just to use an example from that would be the plasma rifle. I really liked how that it offered something different and something you haven't seen in any Halo since then. And for those of you that don't know, I'm mainly referring to the look stun, or when you shot, at least in multiplayer, when you shot another opponent with that there, it would make it very difficult for them to actually turn. Their turn speed was slowed down. And then so it wasn't the strongest weapon at all, but it was just this fun a combat decision of grabbing that weapon and coming up behind someone and making it very likely that you'll be able to end them with the melee kill. So that, to me, that weapon combined with that sandbox, that small, tightly knit sandbox, Halo CE is probably my favorite.
It's a good choice. I've always liked that plasma rifle stun, kind of how you can slow them down, get close, and finish the kill with that melee. And our next question is going to be very similar, and along that same vein, it's going to be, what's your favorite legacy weapon?
Again, man, this is okay. And favorite sandbox, now it's favorite legacy weapon. Okay. Man, I think I would. There's way too many to choose from here, but I guess something that I have that I would look at. I think there is not necessarily out of the like I'm going to pick something that is not necessarily the best or most powerful or anything, but I think I like the gameplay loop and feel of the needle rifle from Halo Reach. I just thought it was just really fun to fire, and it was this really interesting hybrid weapon of you combine a needler and almost like that Covenant carbine or DMR, I guess you could say, but you combine these two and smash them together, and then you get that fun loop of precision, but pairing it with the needle of the super combine. You need to get so many needles in your target for them to explode. So that is probably one of my just more favorite, I guess, weapons in the Halo sandbox. At least we're looking at legacy wise.
That's a good choice. It's definitely a fun weapon, especially when you get that super combine. It's like even if you're missing the headshot, you still get that awesome super combine, and they blow up, and it's still rewarding and satisfying.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we've got time for one last question here, and this one is going to be about the Sandbox Team crest. How did this design of the Sandbox Team crest come about? Not gonna lie, the more I look at it, the more questions I get.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is an interesting one. I wasn't really expecting this to talk about this, but yeah. So we're a big believer on team, and that even though we have really talented individuals here that are accomplished in their field and are really good at what they do, that we are best when we are combined and work towards a common goal. And for me, that crest is something that we wanted to have as something that has meaning. And so everything in there has meaning, from the motto, which is pack pride. That's a motto of us as we work together as a pack. And the pack relates to the animal on the front. No, it's not a made up animal. It's actually a African wild dog. And I don't need to get all into that, but it's an African wild dog, which is a pack hunter and one of the most successful predators in the animal kingdom. It's ugly as sin, but that's we love it. So anyways, everything in there, from the shield, the triangle shapes, the Latin, everything in that crest has meaning. And that to us was important as we are working as a unit together to make the sandbox for Halo Infinite. And that, I guess that's pretty much the gist. Is we want to make sure that there's a culture of sandbox, of unity, working together. And anytime we set out to accomplish something, we're going to do it. We can do it. We will do it. And we have to do it.
Gotcha. That's the Latin on the side there, that last part?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it's pretty much translates to we can, we will, we must. So yeah, if there's a item in the game we want to make, or a feature that we're going to support, if we say we're going to do it, and it's because we think we can do it, and then if we can do it, we will do it. And our word is our bond, and we set up whatever we set out to do, we're going to do. Just like the African wild dog, when it works together and it wants to hunt something, it's going to do it. It's going to make it happen.
That's awesome. Thanks for diving into that a little bit for the person who asked that question. And I think that is going to wrap it up here for our first ever Ask 343. Quinn, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us and go through these community questions. It's been a ton of fun. Do you have any closing words that you'd like to give to the community?
Well, thanks to you, John, for this opportunity. And I guess just some words. I'd just like to thank everyone working on the Sandbox team for all their hard-earned efforts working on this title. We are beyond excited for what we have going, and what you will see throughout this year and at launch is just the beginning. And we're just as excited as you are for everyone to play it. So hang in there.
Yeah, I'm ready for people to start getting a little closer look and eventually going hands-on with everything too. But that's going to do it for us here today. You can catch all the latest and greatest Halo news over on halowaypoint.com or follow us at Halo on Twitter. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all later.